Welcome to Radio Monitors International, the worldwide DX program from Adventist World Radio. At this time each week, you're used to hearing us announce the name of our weekly DX program as Wavescan. However, because of the announced closing of the large historic shortwave station at Ekala near Colombo in Sri Lanka, we're presenting this one special edition of Wavescan under the old title Radio Monitors International as a tribute to Ekala. For this one historic occasion, we also have a special QSL card featuring the old RMI and AWR Asia QSL cards that were in use nearly 40 years ago. This program was researched and written by Dr. Adrian Peterson in Indianapolis and produced in the studios of WRMI Shortwave. Today on Wavescan, the Sri Lanka story, tribute to Ekala, and On the Air in the Island, DX programs from SLBC Ekala. According to the latest information from Sri Lanka, the large historic shortwave station located at Ekala near Colombo is going silent forever. During its long two-thirds of a century on-air usage, the station was heard almost worldwide, and it acted also as a relay station for several international shortwave broadcasting organizations. On this historic and dramatic occasion, this is our tribute to Ekala. The beginning of the story of the SEAC radio station at Ekala goes way back to the year 1941, when preliminary work began on the construction of a shortwave station for the home service radio broadcasting station, Radio Colombo. The chosen location for this new transmitter station was some 10 miles north of Colombo City and about 5 miles from the deep waters of the nearby ocean. Then, when Lord Louis Mountbatten came into the picture during the latter part of the war in Asia, work on this new shortwave station was taken over, enlarged, and speeded up. The Ekala project, now under the auspices of SEAC, the Southeast Asia Command, became a matter of high priority. A nearby radio communication station already in operation by the Royal Air Force became a temporary interim location for the broadcast of programming from the studios of SEAC Radio at 191 Turret Road, Colombo, just opposite the town hall. The first on-air test from the RAF station at Ekala took place on October 11, 1944, with the use of a 7.5 kilowatt RCA transmitter model ET4750. The on-air slogan at this stage was United Nations Radio Kandy. The ACE International Radio Monitor in Sri Lanka, the noted Victor Gunatilaka, informs us that the two radio stations, RAF Ekala and SEAC Ekala, were both established on the same large property, though these days a housing complex lies in between. According to the historians, the first transmitter and an antenna system taken from the Isle of Wight were sent out from England by boat. However, the ship with its cargo was torpedoed and sunk off the coast of Ceylon. A second transmitter and antenna system were sent out from England by ship a few months later, and these arrived safely in Colombo for installation at SEAC Ekala. Another RCA transmitter, ET4750, at 7.5 kilowatts, and the Marconi SWB-18 at 100 kilowatts were installed simultaneously in the new transmitter hall at SEAC Ekala towards the end of the year 1945, and test broadcasts began in early 1946. Both transmitters were taken into service on May 1st, and the official opening ceremony was conducted 1 week later on May 8th, 1946. Soon afterwards, a second RCA unit, ET4750 at 7.5 kilowatts, was installed, and in addition, a 1 kilowatt RCA shortwave unit was installed, and we would conclude that this was the old original pre-war VPB from Velikada, modified and upgraded to 1 kilowatt. At this stage, 4 transmitters were on the air, 3 for international coverage and 1 for island-wide coverage. International programming was beamed towards India, the North Pacific, Burma, and Japan, and England. With the rapid onward progress of the war in Asia, Mountbatten transferred his SEAC headquarters from Kandy in Colombo in Ceylon to Singapore in Malaya, and the new SEAC radio station at Ekala was taken over by the War Office in London, though there seemed to be very little change in the programming content. Around this time, the station was receiving some 8,000 letters a month from listeners around the world, and all were answered, usually with their rather plain, though these days highly prized, black text QSL card. The War Office in London ended its control of Radio SEAC Agala at the end of February 1949, at which time it would seem the station was closed for just a few weeks. However, at this stage, the BBC in London needed a temporary fill-in station due to the fact that they were in the process of constructing a huge new station at Tebrau on the Malay Peninsula, and they were transferring their operations from Jurong on Singapore Island to the new Malaya station. Thus it was that the BBC London took over the ex-SEAC station at Ekala in Ceylon on April 1st, and this station began the broadcast of BBC programming beamed to Asia. At the end of the following year, 1950, the BBC transferred their programming relay from Ekala to their new Far Eastern relay station at Tebrau in Malaysia, and they ended their temporary usage of the SEAC station in Sri Lanka. However, during all of these events, the radio scene in Ceylon was also changing, and Radio Ceylon inaugurated a new commercial service under the program management of Clifford Dodd, who had recently come in from Australia under the auspices of the Colombo Plan. This new commercial service was inaugurated on September 30th, 1950, shortly before the BBC left the scene. On the very next day, October 1st, 1950, the Adventist Church began a program relay from the new Radio Ceylon as the very first customer of this new commercial service on shortwave via the Ekala radio station. Thus began a long-time association with Radio Ceylon, the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, that developed ultimately into the formation of the International Broadcasting Unit AWR Asia, Adventist World Radio in Asia. Among the legendary announcers in the commercial service on shortwave from Colombo, whose names and voices were so well known throughout southern Asia and beyond, were, for example, Vernon Correa, Jimmy Barucha, Shirley Pereira, and Nihal Bharati. In fact, during the height of its success, it is stated that half of all shortwave radio receivers in India were tuned to the SLBC All Asia service. For several years, they operated a commercial office in Bombay in neighboring India, and a specially designed QSL card was also available from this Bombay office. At 7:18 on the morning of Thursday, January 5th, 1967, Radio Ceylon, the Ceylon Broadcasting Corporation, transmigrated and officially became the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. On the technical side, the Voice of America constructed their own transmitter building adjacent to the SEAC installation, in which 6 transmitters were installed, 2 at 10 kilowatts, 3 at 35 kilowatts, and 1 at 100 kilowatts. Around the same time, another 8 transmitters at 10 kilowatts, all Philips from Holland, were installed in the main SEAC building. Since that time, the Japanese installed 2 Kokusai shortwave transmitters at 300 kilowatts in a new adjoining building, and they replaced 4 of the ailing 10 kilowatt transmitters in the main SLBC transmitter hall. We should also mention that several other international radio broadcasting organizations have also utilized the relay services of SLBC Ekala. For example, back in the 1940s, the live programming from All India Radio Delhi was relayed at times via the Ekala shortwave station. Then, in the 1980s, the programming from Transworld Radio was carried over at least 3 different shortwave transmitters at Ekala, a 10 kilowatt Philips, the 12.5 kilowatt standby transmitter, and a 35 kilowatt VOA transmitter. The programming of Family Radio and FIBA Radio were also heard from Ekala, as were other well-known Christian programs. Back in the earlier years, Ekala carried the broadcast of special sports programs from Radio Australia as an onward relay to the BBC London. Then, in the 1980s, the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation made a gracious offer to Radio Moscow to act as a relay station on their behalf, though this offer was never implemented. The venerable 100 kilowatt Marconi transmitter that was inaugurated under SEAC back in 1945 was still on the air, it is reported, even just 10 years ago. According to some authorities, the official call sign for the Ekala shortwave station in recent time was 4SN. Regarding the closure of the Akala shortwave station, we quote a recent email message from Victor Gunatilaka. He said, "This historic station, which began at Akala under the wartime Southeast Asia Command, Radio SEAC, is now on its last legs. Of the 3 VOA 35 kilowatt transmitters, only 2 are working, though the 2 NHK transmitters from Japan are both still in good condition. But spares are not available, and they are too expensive to repair and run. The old 10 kilowatt Philips transmitters are almost gone, and the old Marconi from the Radio SEAC days is rusty with cobwebs and gone forever. This old, historic, and venerable transmitter base at Akala on the island of Sri Lanka is silent forever, and a modern housing complex will take its place. Taking its place on the shortwave radio scene is the former shortwave relay station operated by Deutsche Welle at Trincomalee on the east coast of the island of Sri Lanka. All we can say is, Akala, you performed well. Thank you, and goodbye."
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the USA. Or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
In addition to its shortwave service broadcasting throughout Asia, the SLBC operates various local services for the island of Sri Lanka, such as this one, City FM.
London, Paris, New York, Los Angeles, Geneva, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Sydney, Beijing.
www.slbc.lk City FM.
මම හිතන්නේ අපේ ධනා සොයුරිය මේ විරුදු ආකාරයට තමයි ඒ විරුදු සුරාලු ගාන ආකාරයට තමයි මේ නිර්මාණය අපිට ඉදිරිපත් කියලා දුන්නා.
And as you could hear there, they are, of course, audible on the internet as well, worldwide. Well, the world-renowned annual publication World Radio TV Handbook for the year 1969 carries 2 listings for the first DX program that was on the air via the shortwave station at Akala in Sri Lanka. This program of 15-minute duration was on the air twice each month, the second and last Saturdays, under the title DX Panorama. Victor Gunatilaka tells us that he and Sarat Amakotua of the Ceylonese Shortwave Listener Club researched and wrote the program, and that each program was on the air twice in the Southeast Asia service and the European service of Radio Ceylon. The script for this DX program was read by Mrs. Merle Walpole Williams and Nihal Bharati, and it was included in the highly acclaimed program Radio Journal. The listings for this original DX program from Colombo, DX Panorama, are included in 3 consecutive issues of the World Radio TV Handbook, 1969, 1970, and 1971. A second attempt at a DX program on shortwave from Colombo took place in 1974, and this is recorded in the edition of the World Radio TV Handbook for that year. This new program, under the new title DX Corner, was intended to be a half-hour program as part of Radio Journal with Nihal Bharati. However, as Victor Gunatilaka tells us, this revived DX program never went any further than the planning stage. However, soon after Adrian Peterson's family took up residency in Colombo, Sri Lanka, Victor invited Adrian to make contact with the program director for the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, Jimmy Barucha, with the suggestion of preparing and presenting a weekly DX program as a regular insert in their program Radio Journal. Thus was born the new DX program Radio Monitors International, which initially was recorded in the SLBC Torrington Square studios in Colombo. This first broadcast, just 10 minutes in duration, took place on Sunday, June 1st, 1971. A few months later, Adrian was transferred to Pune, India, where a radio recording studio was already in operation, and so the production of Radio Monitors International was transferred from SLBC Colombo to what became AWR Asia in Pune, India. The recordings of this DX program were sent from Pune, India to Colombo, Sri Lanka by airmail post. On February 19th, 1978, Radio Monitors International became a 15-minute self-contained program that was on the air twice each Sunday from SLBC Akala in the All Asia service and the Southeast Asia service. 1 year later, RMI, as this DX program was known affectionately by its listeners, was expanded to a half-hour duration each week. The second half of each program was given a special title, Window on the World, and inserted into this section of the program were taped recordings from other well-known DX programs, which included Ron Myers and his World DX News from Adventist World Radio Europe, Ian McFarlane's DX Listeners Digest from Radio Canada International, Jonathan Marks and his program Media Network from Radio Netherlands, David Hermgees and his Shortwave Panorama from ORF Vienna, Austria, and the Two Bobs with the Swiss Shortwave Merry-Go-Round from Swiss Radio International.
And now on SRI, another edition of the Swiss Shortwave Merry-Go-Round. Saturday again, my hello friends, neighbors, hearty welcome here aboard the merry-go-round. It's really Bob Tomlin, and next to me as usual, Bob Zanotti, and we're getting closer to Christmas, maybe
Well, Bob, that certainly brings back a lot of memories to me, and I know it certainly does to you as well. So let's open the program the way we used to.
Hello, friends. A hearty welcome aboard. This is Bob Tomlin, and next to me, or across from me, an old friend,
Bob Zanotti. And there it is. We did that, Bob, how many times? I remember very well the first time we got together. I think we were doing that program from April 1970
right,
to the final program in June 1994.
Bob Zanotti there and Bob Tomlin. As an expansion for the DX programming in Radio Monitors International in 1980, the regular half-hour program was included in the home service broadcasts from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation on medium wave, shortwave, and FM. At the same time, a quarter-hour version of this broadcast was included in the SLBC service to the Middle East. Then, too, we, with our earlier Radio Earth programming, included Radio Monitors International in the shortwave outreach from Radio Clarín in the Dominican Republic. Back then, the two announcers in the program, in addition to Adrian Peterson as the DX host, were Sonia Christoporar, who is now living in England, and she sends her greetings to SLBC in memory of the historic shortwave station at Akala. The other announcer was Maxine Bell, who's now living somewhere in the United States. Several thousand QSL cards were issued for the broadcasts of Radio Monitors International, and in fact, way back then, for one particular program, a total of 900 reception reports was received. We are issuing a special QSL card for this one-time broadcast today of our special edition of Radio Monitors International. Thank you, Akala, and welcome to the international radio scene, SLBC Trincomalee. Now let's listen to the national anthem of Sri Lanka. And you just heard the national anthem of Sri Lanka. Well, we want to thank you for listening to this special edition of Radio Monitors International as a tribute to the historic shortwave station located at Akala in Sri Lanka. This program was researched and written by Dr. Adrian Peterson, AWR's International Relations Director in Indianapolis. Next week, we'll revert to our regular program name, Wavescan. And next week, as usual, you will hear another station profile on an important shortwave station, another topic of interest to all international radio monitors throughout the world, and a DX report from one of our regular DX reporters living in one of the countries of Asia. Now a word about QSL cards. On this occasion, we are preparing a special QSL card to honor the 72 years of on-air service from the historic shortwave station located at Akala, near Colombo in Sri Lanka. This one-time QSL card will feature a reproduction of the original QSL card offered by the DX program Radio Monitors International and the program service offered by the original AWR Asia in Pune, India. This special edition QSL card will be used to verify the reception of this one particular program, as may be heard from any of the relay outlets, including Adventist World Radio, the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, shortwave stations WRMI, WWCR, WINB, Spaceline Bulgaria, and any other radio station that rebroadcasts this particular program. This one-time QSL card is available from only the one postal address for Adventist World Radio, which is Radio Monitors International, Box 29235, Indianapolis, that's Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. That's Radio Monitors International, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. And return postage is preferred and appreciated. If you want to send us any general comments, you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. That's wavescan@awr.org. On behalf of Adrian Peterson, this is Jeff White at WRMI in Miami, wishing you good listening and leaving you with some Tamil music from Sri Lanka. Goodbye, everyone.
Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti Om Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti Om Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti Om Om Shiva Shanti Om Shiva Shanti रखो